Welcome back to the next installment of 45 Days of Practice. We are currently at the fabled summer course that we're going to be doing for the next week, and I don't really have time to film much because I've got a lesson in approximately 20 minutes. It's early in the morning and I've got to warm up. But yesterday we did listen to another Austrian piece because we got a concert played by a cellist, Slovene cellist and pianist. They played Beethoven variations on a Mozart aria, I think. Then they played the Arpeggione Sonata, which is of course our piece of the day that we'll talk about later in our ranking. Then they played Brahms F minor Sonata, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really get the Brahms Sonata. I know a lot of people like Brahms. I like Brahms sometimes, but I don't really get it, to be honest. I was just kind of like, look, there's a lot going on. I don't know, I'm sure some people like it, it makes sense. I'm gonna go warm up right now, and then we're gonna have our lesson and a little debrief afterwards and see what we learnt. Okay, here is the situation. We are actually in another room, contrary to popular belief. I know it looks like it's the same room because they all look the same. This is a really crazy school grounds. Let me just show you the outside real quick. Look at this. That is like, ignore the scaffolding for the renovations. This is like a magical looking school grounds. But here is the situation we have at hand. So I've had my first lesson. Lesson went well, actually, quite well. My teacher, I think, was happy that my staccato has gotten better, which has been something that I've had to work on a lot for the past couple weeks. It's been sort of like, I play, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's all right, that's all right, that's all right. The staccato, terrible. And then the next lesson, the same thing, and then again and again and again. The mic is here. I don't know if you can hear all the people around me, but there's a lot of people practicing a lot of pieces that I honestly don't recognize, which I'm slightly disappointed in. But the situation at hand is that we have another lesson this afternoon that we're going to go to. But we also have to think about this audition. So I came over here all the way to Austria to do this summer camp that we're in now, but to also probably take an audition for the university. Because I think the education musically here will be better than here where I'm from. However, I have a flight booked to go back, and the audition is after the date. And I'm also supposed to be going away in between those times, which means I have to either cancel that or fly back and then fly back here. And neither of those options sound like a very good choice. So we're at a bit of a crossroads, a bit of a dilemma, I think. Yeah, that's for me to deal with though. For you guys, now if future Shem watches this back and remembers what he says, he will put a link in the description to our newly updated community. We're having a little community. It's on this platform, I don't know if you've heard of it, called School. Essentially, it's this like platform for sort of online course communities. Imagine like a online course mixed with like a Discord server of sorts, if you know what that is. For the people who are playing games, I guess. I used to be on that a lot. It's a great platform, well, for some things, but essentially it's like a hub where, sort of like a chat forum, essentially, where everyone can post different things. Ours will be about like what you're practicing. So maybe you'll post like, someone help me, what's the fingering here? What's your favorite recording of this? Bowings, or like, do you guys want to get together and play some chamber music? Because there's this really cool feature on School, which is the map feature. So that means essentially that everyone who joins, when we all practice together, you have a map of the world map of members. And so if there's someone near you, or you're flying somewhere to see something, for some other reason, oh, my phone almost just fell, you can find someone who's like in the same area, see if you want to get together, play some chamber music or whatever. I think that would be a sick idea, but there should be a link, top link in the description, and I'll Okay, by some miracle my phone's fine. What I was trying to say, don't fall. What I was trying to say is that there should be a link, top link in the description, that is about that. But for now, we're going to go back to practicing, and I'm going to talk about how we're practicing the staccato, because it's working, whatever I'm doing. Despite the fact that there are about 50 trillion rooms behind me, they're renovating half of them, and I can't find a single practice room to practice in. So I thought this would be a perfect time to show you what we have on screen, which is this little community we're building. So essentially, it's called the practice room. I don't know, that's more of a placeholder title. So this is what you look at when you join the page. Well, actually, this is what you look at when you join the page. You can pause and read that if you want, whatever. Essentially, first you come to the community section, where you can write posts for everyone, and you can put them in these categories, right? So of course, we're divided into building, interpreting, and performing, essentially, which is how Galamian divided how you should spend your practicing time. Building, interpreting, performing. So building is essentially, your fundamentals, your technical skills, everything you need to make up a good sound, a good playing, right? Then there is there's interpreting, which is sort of the works you play, how you play them, and then performing is what you bring to the stage. And so we could talk about all the different aspects that go into that. So say if I need to play Sibelius Concerto Rhythm, right? And it's like, guys, I keep playing it out of time. Yeah. Playing the second subject out of time, right? Because that's actually quite hard to play in time, because it's a polyrhythm, like 3 against 4 or something. So maybe you say, guys, I keep playing this out of time, help me, something like that, right? Let's just post this. Oh no, I need to select. So that would be interpreting, because it's in a piece. You would write more detail, but now the post is there, right? So then, then you could go down and I could comment like something else under the post. And I could say, man, just, what's a solution for that? Play the subdivisions accented legato, right? So instead of it's that's really helpful for a lot of things to play in time. We're not going to comment that, but that's just to show you what this would be like. So I think it would be sick, because it could all deal with the different problems, the different ideas, the different repertoire. Maybe you wouldn't comment that, right? You could just comment general discussion, something about anything. You comment about different piece you've heard. I think it would be nice to have a place to just talk to people about these things. Then we'd have the classroom. If this loads, I've got to do this quickly because I'm running out of time. But essentially, this would have this is the sort of course section where we put in, so what's done so far? So far, the library is the biggest section we've worked on. If it opens. This is what happens when you use your hotspot on a laptop in the middle of nowhere. Oh, what? Yes, we made it in. So essentially, this would have these different sections. So click here to start, which is like the basics of how to use the library. And so what we have is in here is repertoire, and we have masterclass recordings. So we're going to have my masterclasses. These are just a few that I've put in so far. So you can see this is a masterclass from Zukerman, another 4 masterclasses from Zukerman, Heidelic's masterclass series, some Heifetz masterclasses as well. And essentially you'll be able to go in there and access all of those masterclasses in one place in order. So you don't have to spend years searching the internet like I did for all of these. Then we have repertoire, which looks like this. There's a lot of stuff in there. It's all the fundamentals you need to know. I have like 10 seconds before this time runs out. This is essentially what a page would look like on one piece of repertoire. You'd have all your recordings, then all your scores for easy access, and then there'll be a video in between where I explain some of the stuff. Join now. Let's clip this on. I might have to issue an apology for how terrible this piece of the day clip looks. I just turned on a light after I checked, because I always set up the camera. What you don't see is that there's always a shot before I take this shot. So I press record to figure out what I'm gonna see, because obviously I use the other side of the camera so I don't see what I'm filming. But regardless, piece of the day. So we've actually got a double today, which is exciting. So 2 pieces by Schubert. Now I love Schubert. Schubert is one of my absolute all-time, if not my all-time favorite composer, which maybe that's like a hot take for some people. Some people think there's a lot of better composers, Bach, Mozart. Look, they're good. They are really good actually. I just love Schubert. Especially late chamber music of Schubert, piano trios, the 4-hands piano music, that is, I think, some of the best music that's ever been written. It has this it has a very human sort of feel to it. It feels very like it has all the beauty and expression and romanticism of a Rachmaninoff or a Tchaikovsky or a Brahms, but it's in a very restrained, sort of unpretentious way, you know what I mean? It's very humble, understated. I like that about Schubert's music. But the 2 pieces that we put on the list were relatively new pieces for me. One was the Arpeggione Sonata that we heard yesterday, and the other was the Schubert Octet. So first, the Arpeggione Sonata. I already knew that because I've had friends who've played the piece on both viola and cello. And it's a great piece, it's a really great piece. So it's written, obviously, as the name suggests, is written originally for arpeggione, which was this instrument of the time, sort of a new invention. It was a bit of it was most similar to a cello, but it was fretted. It was a fretted cello, and the arpeggione also had 5 strings, if I'm not mistaken. But it's an instrument that quickly sort of died out, and that's why, unless you find historically informed recording, no one will play it on arpeggio. They'll either play it on, most common is cello, and some will also play viola as well. So the Arpeggione Sonata, great piece. My teacher actually today made a comment about the performance, which I may not relay because we don't want to cause any disturbances about what the other people thought about whose performances. But the Arpeggione Sonata, we're going to put, so this is the current list so far while I'm looking at the list, and you can see it on screen hopefully if I can remember to put it up. We're going to put the Arpeggione, is definitely not as good as the Fantasy, the F minor Fantasy, is definitely not as good as the 20th Piano Concerto. And where I immediately want to put it is, I think, I compare it to the Hummel Sonata, but I think despite how good I think Schubert is, I've got to put it just below the Hummel Sonata. Above the Mozart Clarinet Trio. I do like the Mozart Clarinet Trio a lot. It was I went to a concert to hear some Mozart clarinet music on like clarinet and basset horn. Basset horn is basically this old, more classical Mozart era instrument, which is similar to a clarinet. I don't know, there was a little pre-concert talk at that concert I went to, and this clarinetist, he told us like the difference between like clarinets and horns and oboes, and it's like based on a technicality about the ratio of like the bulb of the end of the instrument to like where you make the sound. I don't know, it was something to do with that. So I don't know if it's supposed to be a horn or supposed to be a clarinet or something like that. It's a clarinet-esque sounding instrument. You can look it up. It's got an interesting sound. It sort of sounds like the forte piano equivalent of a clarinet, which makes a lot of sense given it's from the same sort of era. And so if you listen to the Grand Partita, it's probably the most notable Mozart work that features the instrument. But I just wanted to go because I thought that would be a really cool concert. And it was. There was, a cellist as well, played a similar piece to the Beethoven variations that I heard last night. But I surprisingly found myself really liking this E-flat trio by Mozart. But I just don't think I like it as much as the Arpeggione Sonata. Arpeggione is, I think that's a very good piece. That's up there, definitely. So that's the Arpeggione, where that's going to go. Then comes the Schubert Octet. Now, Schubert Octet, that's interesting for me. I've got to be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Schubert Octet. I wasn't the biggest fan. Maybe it requires another few more listens. Maybe I just don't get it. But there are also a few other octets like that I don't really get. I suppose I like the Beethoven septet. But it's an octet for mixed ensemble. So I think it's horn, clarinet, flute, string quartet, and another wind instrument. Let me fact check that. Double bass. Oh, yes. Okay, so there's double bass as well. Yeah, that makes sense. But I don't really get that sort of ensemble. I'm not familiar with too many pieces, especially wind chamber music. So maybe that was something that I just found more off-putting than it otherwise would have been. But either way, we're going to put that just below the Langsammersatz. And that's going to be the end. If you want to submit something, give me some ideas of pieces of Austrian music to add to the list. I'm really trying to expand my Austrian music list because I know quite a lot of Austrian music. I, of course, know all the major Mozart pieces, really. Ballad Requiem, I don't really know that too well. Schubert I know very well. Mahler not so much. Bruckner not at all. Hummel somewhat. But I want it to be a list of newer Austrian pieces. So that is the exciting list of Austrian pieces. Hopefully you found the walkthrough of the school community. That is something I think to be excited about. I've been working quite a bit on it to add some things. I want it to be, my goal is honestly for it to be something that I would join. I want it to be like a page that if I saw that like a year or 2 years ago, I would be like, let me join that, please. And I would be confident that my practicing would improve. That's what I want for everyone else. But for the time being, that is the 15th day of practice in Austria, and we are going to go to bed and get back at it tomorrow.